Your overall thoughts on the round?
Definitely pleased. Typically starting on what would be a Thursday, but today Wednesday. I would say I've struggled to get out of the gate a little bit, and did a good job of kind of focusing on the things that we're working on, being deliberate, swing wise, and staying patient in there. Got a little quick on a couple. Missed a couple fairways there. Got a little out of position, but other than that, I felt like I did a good job mentally, just kind of continuing to move forward out there. North Course is one that you should play a little bit better on, but it's also one that can jump up and bite you pretty quickly if you're out of position.
How disappointing were you after last week, your first start of the year, and does having Maya and Allie make it easier to get through the weeks like that?
Obviously I went there wanting to play well. 2 years ago I was in the final group, and I've really enjoyed playing the Amex. It's a great way to kind of start the West Coast. Typically, really good weather and good conditions. It's other than the wind that we got a little bit there a couple of the days, typically it's pretty mellow. You're able to kind of see where the game really is, just because the conditions are so great. I'm definitely bummed with how I played, but I was able to get some good work in on Sunday and then drive over here, and then continued that on Monday and Tuesday, and just kind of got ready to get back, where we want to be. Like I said, not the way we wanted to play last week, but took it as, used it in the right way and took a step forward.
Does Maya help you get through struggles like that?
Oh, yeah.
Like that?
It doesn't matter, what happens out here, win, lose, whatever. You feel the same when you go home. See a little smile from her. It doesn't matter what happened previous to that.
What was the biggest difference today than last week?
I felt like I was swinging at about 60% and took about 3 hours to get to the top of my backswing. That would roughly be the feelings of it. Just tried to be, like I was kind of talking about, a lot more deliberate, not trying to rush things. I got a little quick on a couple transitions out there. I lost a couple to the right, but other than that, I felt like I did a good job. Trying to trust a little bit more stuff on the greens, putting. Sometimes when I'm looking up at the hole, and you can start working one way or the other because it looks or feels a certain way. So trying to trust the line a little bit more and roll that versus letting the eyes dictate what it may feel like once you're over the ball.
So you're trying to slow the whole swing down, not just transition, or?
Yeah, just to kind of continue like a good rhythm throughout. So I may not be getting. I'm not necessarily getting full numbers. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to stay a bit more controlled. So for now, just need to make sure the club's, at least in a little better spot and everything's working together a little bit better. I'll be able to create more speed once things feel a little bit more comfortable. But just trying to make sure we are doing things right. Produced a lot of good shots today. Last week I drove it fairly well. I had a couple that were a little offline, but for the most part it was my iron play that really kind of killed me. And it's a place like that out in the desert, it's not really good to be putting for par. You got to be making birdies out there. So I think we turned it around all right and off to a little better start this week.
Rick, how different was your off-season work this time as opposed to maybe the last 2 years?
I would say timing and stuff was condensed and a bit more efficient. Once Maya was born, that first month, so up until about mid-December, I didn't do a whole lot. I'd go hit some every once in a while, or I'd hit some in the simulator at home. And then once I started kind of back playing or swinging, it would kind of be every other day. So be able to help out at the house a little bit, and then maybe the next day go play and practice. But even, some of the days were shorter. It wasn't like I was going up there in the morning, coming home at dark. The big thing is, I think that was one of the best things that I was able to do was stay consistent with workouts at home, doing 5 or 6 days a week. So that was kind of away from, Maya and Allison family. That was kind of the priority to make sure we at least kind of kept the body in a good spot. That way, when I did want to start working on stuff and playing and swinging, I was ready to go.
You had the great week at the CJ Cup, obviously. Was it a little bit frustrating that you couldn't use that as a springboard just because of the timing of not only the birth of your first child, but also just the schedule? Like
It was.
ran out of events.
Schedule-wise, there wasn't there was a whole lot to play after that. It would have been nice to go over next week and play well in Japan, and I was a bit off there. And Mayakoba, another one that I thought I could go into. We just struggled to kind of get things going there as well. But very happy to see the way I hit the ball at CJ. Arguably, probably one of the best I've been tee to green in my career that week, just with how everything felt and then how the actual results as well. So, no, I feel like things are very close and in a good spot, but, heading the right direction, too.
You've played well here early in your career. How would you characterize the challenges the last few years?
I feel like I struggle off the tee a little bit in years past. I had some good finishes here the first few years. My first U.S. Open was here in 2008 and played well the first round and made the cut on the number after a smooth 79. But I've had success around the South, and I've played well on the North before the new and with the redo. But yeah, a lot of it comes down to driving. If you don't drive it well, you're kind of stuck behind the 8 ball and trying to salvage from there. So I think that's been one of the biggest things in years past is I just haven't driven it as well as I have in the years prior to that.
What's the chatter been out there about the Wednesday start?
Not a whole lot. I mean, it was a little quicker turnaround than normal coming off of last week. There's a lot of guys here that didn't play last week, so that doesn't really change anything. If every week was Wednesday to Saturday, no one would really talk about it. We play 4 days. It doesn't necessarily matter when that is, especially if every one was the same. I do think it's a good idea, not necessarily going up against football. Not that I think that I can draw some eyes to the TV, but football's going to take away a lot of those. I don't blame them, especially with the playoffs going on. So not competing against that. Not saying it'll help coverage, being that we end on Saturday, but it doesn't hurt it.
Rick, as much as you've played here, have you developed a preference for which course you play first out here during this week? Do you feel like it's better to go out to the north and try to shoot that low number, or be on the south and get your good number but not expect a 66 or 65?
Honestly, I'm not sure if I've ever started on the south.
Really?
At least not that I remember. So with that, you could look at it either way, because if you go out on the south and kind of get off to a so-so start, you're probably going to shoot a little higher than if you go so-so on the north. But if you don't shoot a decent number on the north, you're going to grind it out on the south, especially prior to the course getting redone. Now it's, the north is a lot closer to the south as far as scoring average and all that. But I can't give a whole lot to that because I'm a little bit biased. I've kind of always started on the north.
That's bizarre. All these years, have you ever asked why am I always on the north first, or what's the?
I think
the deal with that?
there might have been 1 year in there where I started south, but I think it's been primarily north.
And do you think that's been good for you? I mean, the results are mixed.
Yeah,
right?
It doesn't matter really. You got to be ready to play on both of them come normally Thursday, this week Wednesday. Both of them you got to drive it well. It doesn't matter which one you're on. It's almost like the fairways on the north are almost harder to hit than the ones on the south. It used to be a decent amount shorter. You used to have wedges out of the rough to greens that were pitched back at you and pretty soft. Now you can't get away with that. So, I'd say in past there might have been obviously a bigger skew towards maybe playing the south so you could go get it on Friday, but now you better be ready to go regardless.
Is this in some ways a better score than you've ever shot on the north, considering the different conditions now?
Yeah, I think I don't know what my lowest prior might have been, like 7-ish or something like that. But I think that was on the old north. So yeah, definitely happy with the round today. I know it could have been lower, but there was a few times where I got a little out of position and I got away with some decent lies in the rough, so everything evens out.
Thanks, man.
As you've gone through the past few months, has it tested your patience at all? And are you a naturally patient person? Just sort of trying to
Yeah,
get
I mean, for the most part, I feel like I'm very patient. My wife says I'm maybe the most impatient with her. I'm patient with everyone else, so I'm sorry to her about that. I try and be as patient as I can. But yeah, and the thing, I mean, it's been a lot more than a few months. It's been a couple years, but there's been some highlights in there, and definitely having the CJ Cup in the fall was nice to kind of see a little light at the end of the tunnel. So yeah, I'm just right now enjoying life, obviously in a really good place there, and to get to play golf for a living. So yeah, there's rough days in the office out here, but when you kind of put things into perspective and look at the big picture, it's all right.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick, Ross.
Mm-hmm.